Hey reader, welcome back to the channel. This is Centaur here, and today we have a mystery box. Two mystery boxes, actually. The Axis and the Allies box, I have not checked the contents inside, except in as much as to open it up to check the receipt form to make sure that this is actually both of them. Because while content creation is fantastic, and obviously it's great when you can make relatively short videos, I'm not hurting for content right now, so I don't want to bore you guys with two mystery box videos. I'm going for one. As a quick reminder, just shooting back up, hopefully editor Aaron will give you a link back to the other most recent mystery box video that I did where I kind of gave a taxonomy of gamers as to whether or not mystery boxes are good for you. Quick reminder, there are different types of people. For some of them, mystery boxes make sense. For some of them, they do not. In this particular case, for me as a person, because I'm getting ready to run Bolt Action Basic Training Part 2 Tank Edition, it makes a lot of sense for me because a lot of the material that I'm getting, I'm giving away to new people who are starting the hobby. And so if I'm getting a bunch of basically free material, right, which is what mystery boxes are, you pay a certain amount, you're going to get that amount, and then a bunch extra on top of that in terms of value. It doesn't really matter to me what it is that I get. It just means that somebody in my gaming group is going to get to play with Italian stuff, or they're going to get to play with Hungarian stuff, or they're going to get to play with German stuff. A lot of German stuff. But that's okay because Germany's really good right now. So, like it all works out. So in my mind, there's no losing. It's just an opportunity for me to stock the shelf with more stuff for people to have. And one of my goals going into Bolt Action Basic Training Part 2 is that through mystery boxes, Thanksgiving, stuff like that, I'll have saved up enough armor that everybody can walk home with a free tank kit. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. And part of that is in my lap. So we'll see what happens. So as per normal, I'm just going to open it. I'm going to give my raw thoughts on it. But remember what the purpose of this is. Even if I will never use it as an armored device, that's okay because I'm not going to use it anyway. So it all works out. Okay. So, for those who did not participate, just know mystery boxes are not for everybody, especially if it's a mystery army. Who knows which army? It's going to be either Axis or Allies. At least with this box, we know it's going to be tied to one army. So it's not like you're going to get like a Hungarian infantry kit and an Italian armored piece and a German artillery piece, right? Or something like that. One of the, I don't know, AA guns, right? Or whatever. We know that these are going to involve everything that's in it is going to be built toward one army that you can actually make. And so with that, quick reminder, I think both of them are in this box. So it's probably going to be a smattering and we don't know which one we're going to get. So it might back and forth a little bit in terms of what you get, but we'll go from there. So start off with handy order sheet confirms they're both in here. Very important. And we lead off with a Panzer 38T. Now, this makes me think that this is a German box. However, keep in mind, there are minor nations that get Axis support. I do not assume this is going to be a Bulgarian box for obvious reasons. They have metal infantry, but I guess we'll soon find out. So, Panzer 38T. I really like the 38T. It's relatively basic. It's basically just it's the light tank with the light AT gun with, the coaxial machine gun and the forward-facing machine gun. But historically, the Panzer 38T was fabulous. Like, it was great. It was the Toyota Camry here in the States of tanks, right? It was a small light tank. It got you where it needed to go. It was very reliable, very durable. The Czechs did a really good job of building these. And so I love giving these away to people because I'm like, worst case scenario, you get a really nice budget tank that is the same cost as everybody else's tank, except you get more machine gun shots, which is fantastically good. Relatively cheap, relatively durable, no downsides, only ups, so it's very great. So we got a Panzer 38T, and then we've got an M18 Hellcat. Now, first of all, I like the Hellcat. If you want to just punch things really hard for the Americans, this is a really good way to do it. This also makes me think we're going to have an American set, which is kind of fun. And it also makes me think, since I've seen some other people get Hellcats, I think I might know what's in this mystery box if they packed it just like somebody else's, but we'll soon find out. On the whole, it's reasonably good. It's open top, so I would keep it near officers as a general rule, just to make sure they can reliably activate. It also means there's a decent chance, a non-zero chance, you're going to have to perform at least one rally order over the course of the game, unless you roll double ones on one of your order tests, which is fine, because, again, it's a reasonable shot at being able to remove enemy armor. All you have to do is connect, and if you can stand still and shoot with no pins, that's threes, which is a pretty good chance you're going to connect. And then there's a good chance you're going to do damage. very possibly you might destroy the thing, which is always nice. On the whole, I mean, it's relatively fragile, but like it'll punch hard. So if you're just looking to add some extra punch, a Hellcat can be really, really good for you. Now, the next one, I can't actually see what it is right now because it's got the big white on the bottom, which makes me think it's an it's a starter army. And so we'll find out what this is. I'm going to grab my second hand back. Hang tight. Okay, in an ideal world, Editor Aaron cut out that thing. I struggled with this for a lot longer than I deserve. But what we end up with is a Blitzkrieg Early War German starter army. Now, this starter army is actually pretty good. So, first of all, it comes with a Hanomag transport, which is a really, really great armored transport. It also comes with, if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here's where it says it. Does right there on the front. It also comes with, what you would need for like medium mortar team and a machine gun team, which is fantastic. It comes with 36 early war German army infantry, which, if I'm not mistaken, might come with the separate arms and the separate weapons. So it's not the most fun thing to assemble, but I mean, it is 36 infantry, which is fantastic. It comes with a light artillery. It comes with one of the little, the little battalion guns, which are, I mean, I think they're great. I still really like artillery. I know they're not currently in the meta, but I still like them. I think there's a lot of value to them. And it's a relatively cheap way of being able to reliably provide yourself with a good anti-infantry option and a reasonable chance at pinning armor. So, I mean, and possibly with more than one pin, which is always nice. So on the whole, I think that those are really great. It comes with, it comes with the half track, which is always nice. And it comes with a Panzer IV medium tank. So, and this being the, the BCD. So if I'm not mistaken, it might also have a howitzer on it now I think about it. So it's kind of a light howitzer heavy sort of thing. Combine that with a medium mortar. You got a lot of pin plus 2 HE going on, coming out from here. So, I mean, not horrible. It's well costed. That's one of the big things about the Panzer IV. I tend to lean toward Panzer IVs that have AT guns only because if I'm gonna take something as a medium tank, I want to be able to punch like a tank. But I mean, if you're just looking for some extra, just some extra pin potential, it's not horrible, and it's really cheap with the howitzer on it. It's really cheap, so that's always nice. And then it's got the decals and stuff like that, damage markers. So not bad. I'm also stocking starter armies both because we've got new players. I'm hoping to have. I've gotten question marks from 5 more people who are looking come to this one that did not come to Bolt Action Basic Training Part 1. And so I'm looking for options for people to be able to be like, hey, I want to go home. I want to be able to play. In an ideal world, if they wanted to pick this up from me at, call it half of whatever MSRP is or something like that, they could. And then with their free tank that they're going to get on the day of and the 2 infantry sprues they get, they'll have plenty enough to build a rifle platoon, heavy weapons platoon, a artillery platoon, an armor platoon, and have lots of extra bodies for whatever they want to customize with. And I think that's fantastic. I also suspect that since it's a starter army plus a tank, that's probably the box for the Germans. So we'll see. But honestly, I mean, the 38T alongside the Panzer IV is not bad because you get a light tank with the light AT gun. You can take a medium tank that has some options in terms of how you kit it out, although I think the BCD is mostly the howitzer side, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not gonna lie, I don't run Panzer IVs often enough to know the exact Ausschuss numbers, well, letters tied to everything, but I'm pretty sure that's just the howitzer side. Even if that's the case, though, it's a multi-threat option, right? You've got one that's doing HE damage, you've got one that's doing AT with the possibility of HE. That's not horrible either. And now we'll see what we get probably on the American side, because I don't think the Hellcat's part of the Lend-Lease program. So I don't think it's going to be British or Soviets. We'll soon find out. Okay, we have the next one, which is the U.S. Army Winter Starter Army. Now, this is one of the newer starter armies. We got the sculpts, of course, very recently when the new edition dropped, right? And so because this is one of the newer ones that they've released, it's tied toward late war, so you can take a guess as to what you probably have in that. But in this case, we get 36 of the new pose U.S. Army infantry. This one does have the weapons attached to the arms, so it is a lot easier to put together. It also, of course, has them in the greatcoats for winter style. So, in my opinion, slightly easier to paint because there's a lot less buckles and doodads. So for newer people playing the game, it's a lot faster to be able to get your army painted up, which is kind of nice. It's got the medal officers, for, NCO, medic, radio operator sort of stuff, which is nice because, again, the Americans do get a bonus to their forward observer, right? You can take 2 strikes with the air observer, which is really nice. So having a dedicated model that is relatively easy to model up off of the infantry sprues, but just having one that's dedicated is kind of nice, especially if you got newer players who are interested in doing stuff. I have quite a bit of Americans. I don't think I'll be keeping this one for myself, but we'll see. You also get enough for 2 machine gun teams and a medium mortar team, which is actually really nice because the machine guns both, you can technically take that as your 2 slots, right? Because medium machine guns you get extra selection on, which is nice. But in the case of the Americans, it's also kind of, I have found at least machine gun teams to be quite useful. They're very good for protecting objectives. They're very good for holding down lines and just throwing pins down range, because reliably they will do pins, even if you take them inexperienced, which is cool. And so that's quite nice there. You get a 105 millimeter medium artillery, the M2A1 howitzer, which is really nice. I still, again, like howitzers. I know some people don't, but I think that's really cool. This is also an interesting one if you were doing kind of a versus, right? Because both sides would have like medium mortars and howitzers. Admittedly, the Germans would have a light howitzer, whereas these guys would have a medium howitzer. With mortars involved, though, maybe that's a liability to put so many points on that larger howitzer. I don't know. And so because that, it's, this is kind of cool. Love that. It's got also, it looks like 3 metal forward observer officer team miniatures as well. So it sounds like you have a radio officer and 3 more forward observer officer guys. So you have 4 people, which means you could do potentially like a rifle and a recce platoon and take 2 forward observers, 2 air observers, and do the air spam, which is kind of fun. If you really wanted to, and all of that just comes hardcore, and the set doesn't require you to eat into any of your infantry. Or I guess you could just do 2 rifle platoons. You could always do that too, I suppose. You get 1, Sherman Easy 8 medium tank. So this is, it's the Sherman with the big gun, which is nice. It'll punch really hard. It also comes with a Hellcat tank destroyer. So we have a second Hellcat going on in here. And then it also, of course, includes the DCAT starts and vehicle damage markers. Now, that is actually a very interesting set, right? Because you've got the Sherman and the Hellcat doing your anti-tank sort of role. You've got a medium howitzer, which is a reasonable anti-infantry option. At the very least, it's going to cause people to pause, and it'll really keep people from getting into buildings. And even if somebody decides to hide in a ruin, a 3-inch HE template will still cover quite a bit. And sure, you may get a save, but you're probably going to save on what, half? Save half, there's a reasonable chance you're going to get 3-4 wounds. You're going to save it down. You're removing 2 plus D3 pins on top of that. That's not bad at all. And so on the whole, I think this is it's a pretty interesting starter army. We are going to be doing a review, by the way, on starter armies and doing a ranking video for part of our top 10 series because, why not? Why wouldn't we do that? I think it's kind of interesting. But on the whole, I think we're going to have, I think this is a pretty cool set. I think if you were a newer player and you were starting out, it's got some stuff that's on meta, in that it's got infantry, it's got the mortar teams, machine gun teams. The whole rifle and heavy weapons platoon is on meta. The Sherman could be, if you were planning on running it like veteran, keeping it pretty far away, which the Easy 8 gun allows you to do pretty easily, and just rely on, well, I'm not going to get pinned very often, so locking me down is going to be relatively difficult. And with all your little DV7, DV8 tanks with their little light auto cannons and crap, like, you can rip through those pretty easily with this thing and not suffer even pins in return, right? Like, they got to really close with you in order to get in with you and in order to do anything, and that's something. The Hellcat is an interesting one. It's cheap, it's punchy, it will remove probably more than its points if you can keep it alive, which is really nice. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's probably closer to being on meta than the Sherman Easy 8 for sure. So, it's got, and the howitzer is obviously not on meta because a lot of people are not running howitzers. Of course, a lot of people are just not running artillery platoons. So there's that. I think they should. I like them and I enjoy them every time. But in as much as people are not, fair enough. But if you're running a Sherman and a Hellcat, there's a reasonable chance, especially if you're running a lot of Rangers, for example, you might not have points for the howitzer in the first place. And so, I think it'd be fine. I think it'd be okay. I think, you go out, you get 1 transport, and you throw it in with this. I would go with something like an M3 White Scout car, but if you go with something like a half track or something like that, that's fine too. I think you throw those in. I think you'd be cooking with grease, especially if you're using like multiple air observers. You'd have pins going off all over the place, chance of removal on a bunch of other stuff, lockdown infantry sections until you can remove them with, with a mortar or whatever. And I think you're looking really good. So on the whole, that's great. And that's the end of the box. So, unfortunately, it's not like we had a lot of different stuff in the kit coming here to you. But on the whole, I'd say not bad, right? 2 very usable starter armies that can work, medium armor sort of stuff, but still, they can work for you. And then two very interesting tank choices, one more on the lighter economical budget side, but still highly effective. And the other one being more of a, well, slightly more expensive, really fragile, but a big gun on it. So you can do a lot of firepower. Okay. And on the whole, this is kind of the fun thing about mystery boxes, right? Because like the Hellcat's not something I would go out and just buy, right? To some extent, Panzer 38T is not something I would just go out and buy because like I have all the ones I'd want to use. I wouldn't go out and just get some more. Starter armies are obviously from where I am in the game. It's not really something that I would invest in very much just because I own a starter army for all of the major nations that have starter armies right now. And so I don't really need more models for them. But at the same time, uh, I think it's a very nice thing for where I'm at because I'm at the point now where I'm helping new people to get started in the game, right? And so because of that, they don't have large amounts of models, right? You know, they don't have tons of stuff to be able to use. And so I'm sitting here being like, well, hey, Uncle Aaron, so to speak, can help you get into the game really easily. And I think that will be really nice. But yeah, if you have thoughts down on the boxes, just let us know down in the comments below. And for when this is airing, I think this is going to come out on Christmas Eve. So a very Merry Christmas to everybody. And we will see you guys in the next video, which will be dropping on Christmas Day as it happens. And so we'll see you next time.